The rattling of the attic door sent Olivia Matthews scrambling to the farthest corner of her prison. Dust motes dancing in the thin streams of light filtering through the single, small window. Her heart pounded against her ribs as heavy footsteps echoed on the wooden stairs leading to the cramped space she'd called home for the past 6 months. Colorado Territory, 1875. What had once been a promising new start after her parents' death had become a nightmare. Olivia had arrived at her uncle's ranch with hope in her heart, only to discover that Carson Matthews had no interest in a niece, just the inheritance she'd brought with her. "You'll stay put until I've secured your money," her uncle had snarled that first night after revealing his true nature. "Then we'll see what's to be done with you." Since then, the attic had become her world. Food came irregularly, usually brought by her cousin Evelyn, who was too frightened of her father to do more than slide a plate across the floor before scurrying away. A chamber pot in the corner, a thin mattress on the floor, and a single blanket were her only comforts. Olivia shrank back as the door swung open. Instead of her uncle's menacing frame, Evelyn appeared, her thin face pale in the dim light. "Father's gone to town," she whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "He won't be back until morning. I brought you extra food and water." Olivia rose cautiously. At 22, she was 3 years older than her cousin, but confinement had weakened her. Her once vibrant auburn hair hung limp around her face, and her green dress, the only one she'd been allowed to keep, was tattered and dirty. "Thank you, Evelyn," she said, her voice raspy from disuse. Evelyn set down a tray with bread, cheese, and a small pot of stew. "I wish I could help you more," she murmured. "Father." She trailed off, the bruise on her cheek explanation enough. "I understand," Olivia said gently. "You're risking enough as it is." After Evelyn left, Olivia ate slowly, savoring each bite. She moved to the tiny window afterward, gazing at the vast expanse of the Colorado landscape. The Matthews Ranch sat isolated in a small valley, surrounded by rolling hills and dense forests. Freedom seemed tantalizingly close yet impossibly far. As darkness fell, Olivia heard the distant sound of hoofbeats. Strange, her uncle wasn't due back until tomorrow. She pressed her face against the glass, squinting to see through the gathering gloom. A lone rider approached the ranch, his silhouette unmistakable against the horizon. The stranger dismounted at the hitching post. Even from her vantage point, Olivia could tell he wasn't from around these parts. His movements were too careful, too deliberate. Hope flickered in her chest, then died just as quickly. No one knew she was here. No one was coming to save her. The sound of voices drifted up from below. Evelyn must be speaking with the visitor. Olivia strained to hear, but their words were indistinct. After a few minutes, the voices faded, and Olivia assumed the stranger had departed. She turned away from the window, resigned to another night of captivity. But then came the unmistakable creak of the stairs leading to the attic. Olivia froze. Couldn't be her uncle, he was in town. Evelyn had already brought food. Her heart hammered as she looked around for something to defend herself with. The door opened slowly, and a tall figure stepped into the room. Moonlight spilled through the window, illuminating a face she didn't recognize. A man with keen eyes and a weathered face stood before her, his expression shifting from determination to shock as he took in her appearance. "Miss Matthews?" he asked, his voice low and gentle. Olivia backed away. "Who are you? How do you know my name?" "My name is Wade Morrison," he said, keeping his distance. "I've been looking for you for 3 months now." "Looking for me?" Olivia whispered, hardly daring to believe it. "Why?" "Your friend Charlotte in Boston was worried when your letters stopped. She hired me to find you." He glanced around the attic, his jaw tightening. "I didn't expect to find you like this." "Charlotte," The name sent a flood of memories through Olivia. Her dearest friend from finishing school had known something was wrong. Someone had cared enough to send help. "Your cousin told me everything," Wade continued. "She's been wanting to help you for months but was too afraid. When I showed up asking questions, she saw her chance." Olivia's legs trembled, and she sank to the floor. "My uncle will be back tomorrow. He'll kill you if he finds you here." Wade knelt before her, close enough that she could see the determination in his eyes. "He won't find me because we'll be long gone by then. I'm taking you away from here tonight." "How?" Olivia asked, hope and fear battling within her. "I have a horse. We can reach the next town by morning and catch the eastbound train." He hesitated, then held out his hand. "Do you trust me, Miss Matthews?" Olivia stared at his outstretched hand. This stranger represented her only chance at freedom, yet years of proper upbringing warned against placing her fate in the hands of a man she'd just met. "I don't have much choice, do I, Mr. Morrison?" she finally said. A smile touched his lips. "No, I suppose you don't." Downstairs, Evelyn had packed a small bundle of provisions and Olivia's few remaining possessions. "I'm sorry I couldn't help sooner," she whispered, embracing Olivia briefly. "Come with us," Olivia urged. "You don't have to stay here with him." Evelyn shook her head. "The ranch is mine when he's gone. I can wait." She pressed something cold and metal into Olivia's hand. "Take this. It was your mother's locket. Father kept it in his desk." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes as she recognized the small golden heart. "Thank you," she whispered, clasping it around her neck. "We need to go," Wade said softly from the doorway. "There's a storm coming, and we should get as far as possible before it hits." Outside, the night air felt intoxicating after months of confinement. Wade helped Olivia onto his horse, a sturdy chestnut gelding, before mounting behind her. His presence at her back was both foreign and reassuring. "Hold tight," he murmured, and then they were moving, the ranch house growing smaller behind them as they rode into the darkness. They traveled in silence for a time, the only sounds the steady rhythm of the horses' hooves and the distant rumble of thunder. Olivia was acutely aware of the strong arms on either side of her, holding the reins. "Who are you, Mr. Morrison?" she finally asked. "You don't seem like a typical detective." She felt rather than saw his smile. "I'm not. I was a cavalry scout during the war. Afterward, I started tracking people, mostly finding lost loved ones, runaway children, that sort of thing." "And now you rescue damsels in distress?" "Only the ones locked in attics," he replied, and she found herself smiling for the first time in months. The storm hit sooner than expected. Rain lashed at them, cold and punishing, while lightning split the sky in jagged bursts. The horse grew skittish, and Wade guided them toward a stand of trees. "There's an old line shack about half a mile ahead," he shouted over the downpour. "We can wait out the worst of it there." The small cabin was little more than 4 walls and a roof, but it was dry. Wade tended to the horse while Olivia wrung water from her sodden dress, shivering in the chill air. When he returned, he quickly built a fire in the small stone hearth, the flames casting dancing shadows across the walls. "Here," he said, offering her his coat. "It's damp, but it's better than nothing." Olivia accepted it gratefully, drawing the heavy material around her shoulders. "Thank you for everything." Wade nodded, his expression somber as he studied her in the firelight. "No one deserves what happened to you, Miss Matthews. Please call me Olivia," she said. "After saving my life, I think we can dispense with formalities." "Olivia, then." Something in the way he said her name made her heart skip a beat. "And I'm Wade." As the storm raged outside, they talked. Wade told her about growing up on a small farm in Pennsylvania, about his time in the war, and how he drifted west afterward, unable to settle. Olivia shared stories of her childhood in Boston, her parents' sudden death from influenza, and the fateful decision to seek out her uncle, her only living relative. "He seemed so kind in his letters," she said, staring into the fire. "By the time I realized his true nature, it was too late. He'd already begun proceedings to claim my inheritance as my guardian, though I'm well past the age of majority. We'll fix that," Wade promised. "I have friends in Denver who can help. Lawyers." The conviction in his voice warmed her more than the fire. For the first time since her imprisonment, Olivia felt something like hope take root in her heart. "You should try to sleep," Wade said, nodding toward the narrow cot in the corner. "We have a long ride ahead of us tomorrow." Olivia hesitated, suddenly aware of their isolation and the impropriety of their situation. Wade seemed to read her thoughts. "I'll keep watch outside," he said gently. "You're safe, Olivia. You have my word." True to his promise, Wade spent the night on the small porch, coming in only to stoke the fire. Olivia slept fitfully, waking often to the unfamiliar sounds of freedom, the wind in the trees, the call of night birds, the soft nickering of the horse. Dawn broke clear and bright, the storm having passed during the night. They set out early, Olivia feeling stronger after a night of rest and the simple breakfast Wade had prepared. The landscape seemed different in daylight, less threatening, more beautiful in its wild expanse. "How far to the next town?" Olivia asked as they rode. "Clearwater's about 20 miles east," Wade replied. "Small place, but it has a station. We can catch the train to Denver there." "And then?" Wade glanced down at her. "That depends on what you want, Olivia. Charlotte asked me to find you and ensure your safety. After that, the choice is yours." The idea of choosing her own path was both exhilarating and terrifying. For so long, her life had been decided by others, her parents, her teachers, then her uncle. Now, freedom stretched before her like the vast Colorado sky. "I don't know what I want," she admitted. "Except to never be caged again." Wade's expression softened. "That's a good place to start." They reached a ridge overlooking a broad valley, and Wade reined in the horse. "We should rest a bit. There's water in that creek below, and we could both use a break." As Wade tended to the horse, Olivia washed her face in the cool stream, reveling in the simple pleasure. She caught her reflection in the water and hardly recognized the gaunt face staring back at her. 6 months of captivity had taken their toll. "You'll be yourself again soon enough," Wade said, startling her. He'd approached silently, a habit from his scouting days, no doubt. "Time has a way of healing most wounds." "Some wounds leave scars," Olivia said softly. Wade nodded, pushing up his sleeve to reveal a long, jagged mark on his forearm. "Got this at Antietam. Reminds me every day that I survived when many didn't." Impulsively, Olivia reached out to touch the scar, her fingers tracing its length. Wade went still, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. The moment was broken by the distant sound of hoofbeats, several horses, moving fast. Wade's expression changed instantly, alert and wary. "Get behind those rocks," he ordered, drawing a revolver from his belt. "Now, Olivia." She scrambled to obey, heart pounding as Wade positioned himself between her and the approaching riders. Through a gap in the rocks, Olivia could see 4 men on horseback crossing the valley floor, heading directly toward them. "It's him," she whispered, recognizing her uncle's hulking form at the lead. "How did he find us so quickly?" "Probably followed our trail from the line shack," Wade said grimly. "Stay hidden. If anything happens to me, take the horse and ride east. Don't stop until you reach Clearwater." Before she could protest, the riders were upon them. Carson Matthews dismounted heavily, his face contorted with rage as he spotted Wade. "Where is she?" he bellowed. "Where's my niece?" Wade stood his ground, revolver steady. "She's not your niece anymore, Matthews. She's under my protection now." Carson laughed, an ugly sound. "Protection? Who are you supposed to be? Her knight in shining armor?" He gestured to the three men behind him. "I've got the law on my side, mister. Sheriff Davis here has a warrant for my niece. She stole valuable property before running away." The man Carson indicated wore a tarnished badge on his vest, but everything about him screamed hired gun rather than lawman. Wade didn't lower his weapon. "That's a lie," he said evenly. "And we both know it. Miss Matthews has been held prisoner for months while you tried to steal her inheritance." Carson's expression flickered. "You can't prove that." "I've got signed testimony from your daughter," Wade countered. "And I've seen the attic where you kept her. Any real judge would throw you in prison for what you've done." From her hiding place, Olivia watched the confrontation with growing dread. Her uncle wouldn't back down, not when her inheritance was at stake. And he had 3 armed men with him. Carson's face darkened. "Evelyn's been filling your head with lies. My niece is disturbed. Been that way since her parents died. I've been caring for her, keeping her safe. By locking her up?" Wade's voice was dangerously soft. "That's not care, Matthews. That's cruelty." Carson's hand moved toward his gun. "I don't have time for this. Hand her over or we'll take her by force." In the split second before violence erupted, Olivia made her decision. She couldn't let Wade die for her. Stepping out from behind the rocks, she raised her voice. "I'm here, Uncle Carson." 5 pairs of eyes swung toward her. Wade's expression was a mixture of dismay and resignation. Her uncle's mouth twisted into a triumphant smile. "There you are, my dear. We've been so worried about you." Carson's false concern might have fooled a stranger, but Olivia heard the threat beneath his words. "Let Mr. Morrison go," she said, moving forward slowly. "He was only trying to help me." "Olivia, don't," Wade warned, but she continued toward her uncle. "You've won," she told Carson. "I'll come back with you." Her uncle's smile widened. "Wise decision, though your friend here will have to answer for kidnapping." "No." Olivia stopped just out of her uncle's reach. "If you harm him, I'll tell everyone what you did to me. Every person from here to Denver will know how Carson Matthews imprisoned his niece to steal her money." Anger flashed in her uncle's eyes. "You wouldn't dare." "I would." She met his gaze steadily. "Let him go, and I'll return quietly." The standoff stretched, tense and dangerous. Then, unexpectedly, the sheriff cleared his throat. "Carson, maybe we should." A gunshot cracked the air, causing everyone to flinch, but it hadn't come from anyone present. From the ridge above, a voice called down, "That's far enough, Matthews." A group of riders appeared on the hillside, 6 men, all armed, led by a gray-haired man with a genuine sheriff's badge gleaming on his chest. "Sheriff Turner," Wade called out, relief evident in his voice. "Right on time." Carson's face drained of color. "What is this?" "Insurance," Wade said quietly. "I sent a telegram from the line shack last night. The real sheriff of Clearwater County has been looking for a reason to investigate you for a long time." The confrontation ended swiftly after that. Carson and his false sheriff were disarmed and arrested, along with their companions. Sheriff Turner took Olivia's statement right there by the creek, his expression growing graver with each detail she provided. "You'll need to come to Clearwater to make a formal statement," he told her. "But with your testimony and Miss Evelyn's, your uncle will be facing serious charges." As the sheriff's posse led the prisoners away, Olivia found herself trembling, the reality of what had just happened crashing over her. Wade was at her side instantly, steadying her with a gentle hand. "It's over," he said softly. "You're free, Olivia." She looked up at him, this man who'd risked everything for a woman he barely knew. "How did you know to contact the sheriff?" Wade smiled. "I didn't survive the war by not having a backup plan. Besides, Sheriff Turner and I go way back." "Thank you," Olivia whispered, the words wholly inadequate for what she felt. They reached Clearwater by mid-afternoon. The small town consisted of little more than a main street lined with wooden buildings. But to Olivia, it represented salvation. After giving her statement at the sheriff's office, Wade escorted her to the town's only hotel. "You should rest," he said, securing her a room. "The eastbound train doesn't arrive until tomorrow morning." Olivia hesitated at the foot of the stairs. "What about you?" "I'll be around," he assured her. "I'm not leaving until I know you're safely on that train." That night, after the first proper bath she'd had in months and wearing a new dress purchased from the general store, Olivia joined Wade for dinner in the hotel's small dining room. The simple meal of roast beef and potatoes tasted like a feast. "I received a wire from Charlotte," Wade said as they ate. "She's overjoyed that you're safe. She'll meet you in Denver." Olivia nodded, but her enthusiasm was muted. The prospect of returning to her old life felt strange now, as if she were trying to fit into clothes she'd outgrown. "What will you do?" she asked. "After I'm safely delivered to Charlotte?" Wade considered the question. "There's always someone who needs finding," he said finally. "I go where I'm needed." "A knight-errant of the Wild West," Olivia said with a small smile. "Hardly that," he demurred, but his eyes crinkled at the corners. Later, standing on the hotel's small balcony under a sky crowded with stars, Olivia tried to imagine returning to Boston society. The thought left her cold. "You're troubled," Wade observed, joining her at the railing. "I'm trying to figure out where I belong now," she admitted. "Boston seems so far away, in more ways than one." Wade was silent for a moment. "You don't have to decide tonight. The world is wider than your uncle's attic, Olivia. You have time to find your place in it." She turned to face him, suddenly certain of one thing at least. "I don't want to go back to Boston." His eyebrows rose. "No, no." She took a deep breath. "These past months have shown me how fragile life can be, how quickly everything can change. I don't want to waste any more time living by other people's expectations." "What do you want, then?" Wade asked, his voice gentle. Olivia looked out at the rugged landscape, silver in the moonlight. "I want to stay in Colorado. I want to use my inheritance to build something of my own." She hesitated, then added softly, "And I'd like to get to know the man who rode through the darkness to rescue me." Wade's expression was unreadable in the dim light. "Olivia, you've been through a terrible ordeal. I wouldn't want you to make decisions based on gratitude or—" "It's not gratitude," she interrupted. "Or at least not only that. When I was in that attic, I promised myself that if I ever got out, I would live honestly. No more pretending, no more doing what's expected just because it's proper." She took a step closer to him. "The truth is, I feel more alive with you in this wild country than I ever did in Boston's drawing rooms." Wade's eyes softened. "Colorado's a harsh place for a woman alone." "I'm stronger than I look," Olivia said. "And I wouldn't be alone, would I? Unless you're planning to ride off into the sunset once your job is done." His hand came up to touch her cheek, feather light. "The job was to find you and bring you to safety. Technically, I've already fulfilled my contract. And yet you're still here," she whispered. "And yet I'm still here," he agreed. The kiss that followed was gentle, questioning, a beginning rather than an ending. When they drew apart, Olivia felt a certainty she hadn't experienced since before her parents' death. "Stay with me," she said simply. Wade's smile was slow and warm. "I believe I will, Miss Matthews. I believe I will." 6 months later, the Matthews Ranch looked nothing like the prison it had once been. With Carson serving time in the territorial prison and Evelyn happily married to a shopkeeper in Denver, Olivia had reclaimed her family property. The attic had been the first thing to go. Wade had torn it out himself, replacing the space with a proper second story with large, airy windows. The ranch house gleamed with fresh paint, surrounded by new outbuildings and corrals filled with horses. Olivia stood on the front porch, watching as Wade rode in from checking the north pasture. The autumn sun glinted off his hair as he dismounted and secured his horse. She never tired of watching him move, confident, steady, the embodiment of the freedom she'd once only dreamed about. "Everything all right?" she called as he approached. "Better than all right," he replied, taking the porch steps 2 at a time. "The new foal is doing well, and the grazing land looks good for winter." Olivia smiled as he pulled her into an embrace. "I got a letter from Charlotte today. She's planning to visit in the spring." "Is she now?" Wade chuckled. "Think she'll approve of your new life as a rancher's wife?" "She'll be scandalized," Olivia said cheerfully, "and secretly envious." They had married in the small church in Clearwater just 3 months after her rescue. A simple ceremony attended by Sheriff Turner, a few neighbors, and Evelyn. Olivia had worn a blue dress instead of traditional white, another convention she'd willingly discarded. "I have something for you," Wade said, reaching into his pocket. He withdrew a small wooden box, intricately carved. "Happy birthday!" Olivia gasped softly as she opened it to reveal a delicate silver bracelet set with small turquoise stones. "It's beautiful. But how did you know it was my birthday?" "I never told you. Charlotte mentioned it in her last letter," he admitted. "She was quite insistent that I not let the occasion pass unmarked." Olivia laughed, blinking back sudden tears. "I'd forgotten myself, if I'm honest." The days in the attic all blurred together. Wade's expression grew serious as he fastened the bracelet around her wrist. "No more unmarked days, Olivia. I promise you that." She leaned into his embrace, breathing in the scent of leather and pine that had become home to her. "No more darkness," she agreed. "Only light from here on out." Later that evening, as they sat together on the porch watching the sunset paint the Colorado sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From the privileged but constrained life of a Boston society girl to the terror of her uncle's attic, and finally to this, a life of her own choosing, with a man who had literally ridden through darkness to save her. "What are you thinking about so intently?" Wade asked, his arm warm around her shoulders. Olivia smiled up at him. "Just that sometimes the worst moments of our lives can lead us exactly where we're supposed to be. A philosopher as well as a rancher," he teased gently. "And a wife," she added, leaning up to kiss him. "Don't forget that part." As darkness settled over the land, the ranch house glowed with warmth and light, a beacon in the wilderness. Much like the love that had rescued Olivia from her prison and given her the courage to build a new life in this wild, beautiful country. No longer locked away, no longer alone, she had found both freedom and home in the arms of her cowboy.